This is Rating Descending.
where we watch IMDb's worst 250 movies so you do not have to.
I'm Michelle St. Clair.
I'm Abigail Ward.
And this week we watched The Adventures of Pluto Nash. In the future, a man struggles to keep his lunar nightclub out of the hands of the mafia. Let's watch.
That's a succinct
I know.
fucking tagline.
That's a real tagline.
Whoa!
So, Abby, I've been workshopping this new bit.
Yeah.
It's based on my coffee machine, which whenever I want to steam milk, you know, it also, its pump goes like, you know, that's what I normally do, is doing that one as a classic.
That's what I used to do when I used the same coffee machine.
Yeah. However, these days now my favorite, that has become a bit of what if your coffee machine, like a coffee machine is scatting at a jazz nightclub. Scooby bap bap ba da shoot doo 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 shoot ba da da dee hit that do 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 do. Do you like it?
I'm confused by it. I think I would need to hear it.
That's it. That's it. That's me. That's you heard it.
But when you steam milk, I feel like it's a pretty consistent sound of like.
You just did two different. That's not consistent.
Well, it's a consistent sound. Like it's the sound consistently.
Sure, but it's not scatting.
Yeah. So where do you fit in the scatting bits?
You just heard it. That's why it is in addition to steaming milk, scatting.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I just need to hear it.
You just did.
I'd like to hear it in real life.
What do you think is happening right now?
It just doesn't make sense to me without the machine.
The machine's not part of it. It's an entirely audio impression.
Can you do it again?
Scoodly bap bap ba That's it. That's all it is.
So you're just scatting over frothing milk.
I'm not scatting. I'm doing both of them. This is the bit. The machine is the inspiration.
Right.
The machine's not required. We're way beyond that.
It's very funny. So good, Michelle. I love it. Is that what you want to hear?
I did this knowing what your reaction would be, and you lived up to exactly what I expected.
Yeah.
You didn't you didn't like it?
No. No, I didn't.
Well, that's pretty honest.
Yeah. It's not because I don't like
I appreciate your honesty. Hey, look.
You know, it's fine to... feedback and criticism, when given kindly, which is not necessarily what I just did, is important to be able to accept.
You know that I like just like pitching bits, you know.
Yeah.
I often send our honoured friend of the podcast, Gaten Souza, audio bits. I don't do that as much with you because I know you'll be much meaner about it. Instead, I usually do them on air, you know, where at least someone else will get a chuckle.
Oh, well, do you have any other audio bits you'd like to do?
Oh, do I? Oh,
please feel free to air them.
Oh, do I? I don't know. I don't think I do. Have I been workshopping? I mean, I've been having, let's be honest, a little bit of a rough time recently.
You have.
What I have not been focusing on is what silly little audio bits can I be stimming out loud, you know?
Fair enough. See, I don't do like audio bits like that, but I do little songs, which we've talked about before.
We've talked about your little songs.
But I've just, one of my best songs, and I remember it from beginning to end because I thought it was probably my best yet, was a few years ago. I had a hemorrhoid on my bum, and when I found it, I was like, I have bum cancer. There was a lump near my ass.
I think you told this story recently.
Really?
Maybe that was in real life. Who knows?
And I sung Lauren a Hemorrhoid song. I woke up in a daze thinking about it, turned on my phone, and I sung her a little song, and I went back to sleep. And it's still one of the best songs I've ever done. And you guys will get a rendition of it right now. Mm-hmm. I have hemorrhoids, hemorrhoids. They're on my bottom, I can't escape 'em. And in the morning, when I'm a pooing, I feel a hemorrhoid all up my butt. Hemorrhoids.
I liked it. It's kind of like an Irish old tale.
It's actually one of those old ballads that the convicts were singing on the way in the first fleet.
Like a brogue, you know.
Yeah, my ancestor Molly O'Ward, she sung that ballad when she landed at Sydney Cove as a little convict lassie
with a hemorrhoid.
I've got hemorrhoids.
Yeah.
Hemorrhoids.
See, that's good. I did note now that it's getting hotter, that means it's also coming closer to Christmas. So it's getting closer and closer to my favorite bit, as you know, which is doing Michael Caine in The Christmas Carol, specifically the bit where he is talking to the ghost of Christmas future. He's like, please, I will learn to love Christmas. Please don't tell me that my name is that I can change. You know, send me back. Oh please, spirit.
Please, spirit.
And I love doing that.
I will learn to honor Christmas, the past, the present, and the future.
When I started watching Naruto with my housemate, which I am like so far, I'm up to episode 300 of Shippuden, which is the second one.
That's a lot of episodes.
I'm like 500 episodes in.
How long are each episode?
It's like 20 minutes.
What the fuck?
We've been skipping the filler as well.
That's a lot.
You know, I think I've watched 300 episodes total. We skipped, there's like 80 episodes of filler in the initial run of 220 episodes, and then out of this 300, like every alternate season basically has been filler.
Okay.
So, you know, it's still like a lot of episodes, but it sounds like we've watched like 500. We didn't watch every single one of those. It's actually really good, way better than I ever thought it was. But one of my favorites of that was blending those, and I started going around the house going, oh, please, Kakashi Sensei, I will learn how to do my ninjutsu, please.
That is such a strange niche blending of bits that only like you and one other person will be privy to.
Yeah. Well, it's because especially in Naruto, that one of the characters, Kakashi Sensei's rival, is Might Guy, and he has a voice that's like, aha, Kakashi. He's got like the perfect delivery. I get so excited every time he's on screen because he's like, all right then. It's perfect.
Also, you mentioning that we're getting closer to Christmas, I have to say, I smelled a candle that was meant to smell like a Christmas tree, like a pine tree the other day. And just the smell of that alone got me fully on board for this year's Christmas. I want to do some wholesome shit with my friends for weeks.
Do you feel like...
And you're not going to be able to escape it, Michelle. What? We're going to have wholesome dinners.
I thought you were going to say I'm not going to be able to come. I'm not going to like be allowed to come.
What?
I thought you were going to say that as like just a mean, hurtful joke.
What? No. Oh my God.
Because I would love to come to your Christmas thing.
Yeah, we're going to have such a wholesome
I don't want to escape it.
time.
I don't want to escape him. What I really need right now from you is friendship.
What we're talking here is roasted hams, all right, with cloves in them. We're talking fucking potato bakes, okay? We're talking decorating Christmas trees and seeing Christmas carols. I'm feeling festive this year.
Yeah.
And last year I was pretty festive. This year I might go a step beyond.
Ooh.
We're going to get really fucking festive
Hell
this year.
Yeah, that's cheeky. That's fun. I'm into it. I love it.
Yeah.
It's pretty cute.
The 1st of October, here I am talking about Christmas.
Well, that's the thing. I was going to say, do you feel like the Christmas industrial complex has completely obliterated Halloween? Like, I know
yes.
Americans still do Halloween.
I don't give a shit about Halloween.
I know, like, Australia's always, I feel like, had a weird relationship with Halloween because every time I talk to an Australian so often, they're like, it just feels like an American import. I'm like, well, I mean, it's an English corruption of an Irish thing, but like, that's sure. But I feel like when I was a kid, I engaged with it more, and I feel like less and less people are engaging with it. And now there's not even any spooky materials, but there's already Christmas things in the shops.
Well, if you go to Woolworths, all of the decorations are for Halloween. They're not like jumping to Christmas.
I saw some Christmas stuff at my Coles. I saw Christmas things.
Well, I saw Halloween things at my Woolworths.
Well.
I guess sorry.
We're representing the old Coles v Woolworths rivalry through Halloween v Christmas.
I will side with anything that is closer to where I live.
Also, it is very funny for Australia to be like, oh, Halloween, that's an American import, as if Christmas is a natural Australian thing.
Yeah. Also, when I was a kid, I went trick-or-treating once. And it was when I was like 12. So I was already kind of past the age for it anyway, but I was like, before I get any older, I just want to try it. Me and my friends got dressed up for Halloweening and for trick-or-treating, and I made myself into a scary clown, and I made pants out of patches of material that were held up by suspenders, and I stapled all the patches together. And then throughout the night, the staples began to come undone after they had finished ripping my legs to shreds. Yeah. And I basically like had half a pair of shorts by the end of the night. But
half a pair of bloody shorts. That is pretty scary.
Yeah, it was pretty gruesome, to be fair.
It's pretty spooky.
Really nailed the brief. But at the end of the night, like, I remember feeling really disappointed because a bunch we went trick-or-treating in Vaucluse in Sydney, so it's not the nicest crowd of people to begin with. They're very entitled and snobby and rude. But basically every second house we knocked on were like, we don't do Halloween here. Like, get off my property. And we were like, no, like, it's fine if you don't want to answer. You don't need to answer. But the fact that people were being like, we don't, to lecture us.
Yeah.
Being like, Australia doesn't celebrate Halloween here.
Whatever.
Fucking die already, you old bitch.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's annoying because I actually support thoroughly. Now, listen, I don't have problems with Americans. There's this Australian tendency to dunk on Americans, especially online, usually about healthcare and like make fun of them with guns. And like the majority of Americans don't want America to be this way.
Yeah.
They're trapped in hell and we're laughing at them. We're the devils laughing at them.
I don't laugh at Americans for that. I laugh at Americans for enjoying their candy, which is just corn syrup. It is the most filthy, disgusting shit. What disturbs me is the American diet, and not because of obesity epidemics, just because it tastes bad.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue.
Despite that, I support the like rejection of American cultural dominance, if not just because I'm a big fan of like, you know, culture is local, culture is regional. The more we decide to give up our own specific identity, the more we give up as people with our own individual culture and stuff, you know. At the same time, I feel like many Australians I know only whip it out in reference to Halloween.
Yeah.
I'm like, where is this energy?
Yeah.
Where is this energy elsewhere? You don't go and watch Australian movies every time I ask you. You just don't like Halloween. What is this?
Yeah, I agree. We got to get on with the movie, by the way.
Oh, shit.
We haven't started, and I just realized.
We have a podcast to do. Hey, speaking of a podcast we're supposed to do, this week we watched The Adventures of Pluto.
Yeah, we did. How long was that opening?
11 minutes.
Fuck, that's... Yeah! Adventures of Pluto Nash.
Had you heard of this movie before?
No.
I had.
I hadn't.
I had heard of it in reference to one specific thing about it. Look, we're pretty deep in. Do you want me to get just right into the key details?
Let's do it.
All right.
Let's skip a bit. Sorry, guys.
So this movie came out in 2002.
Yep.
The director is Ron Underwood. Who was...
What did he do?
He was the director of City Slickers and Tremors as well.
I haven't seen Tremors.
It's pretty great. It's pretty fun and camp. But I watched City Slickers a lot as a kid. We've
talked about City
We have
Slickers
talked about it, yeah. He also directed a bunch of TV in later years, including, I noted down specifically for you, Brain Dead.
Oh.
Because I know you went on about that show. He directed an episode of it.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's starring Eddie Murphy, Randy Quaid, Rosario Dawson, and I put down Joe Pantoliano, even though he's not starring in it as much, but I love like some Joey Pants.
Me too.
You
Joey
know?
Pants. And I mean, like, he's such an interesting actor and a dynamic actor.
Yeah.
And also as a person, he's very interesting.
He is. He's an interesting guy.
He's played some really brutal roles, and I think that's had an effect on him as well. Like, he played Ralph in The Sopranos. That shit is fucked up. Ralph is a really fucked up character. He's probably the most evil character in The Sopranos. And
I really got to go back and watch The Sopranos because I only watched the first season with you. I still haven't watched the rest of it.
It gets pretty gnarly out there, especially with Ralph.
Yeah, woke up this morning.
Yeah, yourself a gun.
Got myself a gabagool. Anyway, on that note of the actors, the returning actors, Eddie Murphy for Vampire in Brooklyn, Nutty Professor 2, and Norbit, making this his fourth. Randy Quaid was in The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle. Oh. Joe Pantoliano was in Cats and Dogs, The Revenge of Kitty Galore.
Yep.
Peter Boyle was in Species 2. Luis Guzman was in Beverly Hills Chihuahua.
Jesus.
James Rebhorn was also in The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle. Miguel A. Nunez Jr. was in The Nutty Professor 2, and I recognized him. He is the as stated in the movie, voodoo witch doctor in Scooby-Doo. Remember how there's the guy and he's
yeah.
As soon as he said one line and I saw his face and I was like, I fucking know that voice and delivery.
Monster Island really fucked you up as a kid, didn't it, Michelle?
I have seen that movie so many times, and this was not a My Sister thing. This was just a Michelle thing.
Claude, because we've been watching Freaks and Geeks, he was like, where do I know, Lindsay Weir from? And I was like, it's Velma from Scooby-Doo. And he was like, oh my God, it's Velma from Scooby-Doo. And he was like, do you think she ever, did anything bigger or better than being Velma from Scooby-Doo? Like, do you think she'll ever shake that being known as it? And I was like, I guess not, because when you asked me who is that, all I said was, she's Velma from Scooby-Doo.
I love her as an actress, but when you said that, I instinctively want to be like, no. And I'm like, yeah, but most people just go, that's her from Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
And also, Alec Baldwin is in The Cat in the Hat.
Yes.
A shocking amount of returning actors.
That's a lot. And also the Alec Baldwin appearance was great. I didn't expect it.
He's specifically, though, doing his impression of Robert De Niro that he does in an episode of 30 Rock. He's like telling off Liz of like, it's so easy to write this. You do like, you do this, you do that, then you get Robert De Niro being an auctioneer, and he goes, I got one, I got two, got three. You know, he's like doing it, and Liz even goes, that's pretty good. He's doing that exact thing. And this is the reason that I already knew this movie.
Why?
The budget? What do you think the budget was?
Oh my God. Not that high.
In 2002.
Oh, it did have Eddie Murphy, which would have probably increased the budget. Oh God, was it something stupid?
The $100 million.
Oh my God.
In 2002.
Oh my God, that's stupid.
Yeah. What do you think the box office was?
Oh God. Because you're asking me like that, I'm going to say 40 million.
7 million.
7 million.
This, for a long time, it was really hard to find if it was still true, but for a long time, may still be the biggest absolute loss from a movie.
That is like horrible.
Movies like John Carter that cost like, however, $300 million, like that allegedly had a $600 million loss, but that's also from like development and marketing that aren't included in the budget and box office.
Yeah.
This for a long time was the largest like absolute loss from a movie.
Fucking hell.
It lost $93 million.
That's insane.
7!
That's insane.
$100 million.
That's insane.
Oh my God. It's the same scale as Area 51.
It is upsetting when you stop and think about how much money was wasted on films.
Yeah.
Oh, shocking.
But then you hear about like Google wasted like $200 million on a product that they clearly, like the executive just wanted a promotion and then they abandoned it after 2 years and it fucks up like thousands of people's jobs.
Yeah, I guess so.
And I'm like, yeah, you know what? They still made a movie.
Get wasted all the time, sadly.
Yeah, because
someone's gonna waste it.
Someone's gonna waste it. May as well waste it on the Adventures of Pluto Nash.
Yeah, why not?
Here's the full overview. In 2080, in the moon colony Little America, ex-smuggler Pluto Nash buys a nightclub when his friend Anthony Frankowski almost gets whacked by the mob for owed money. Pluto agrees to take on the debt in exchange for ownership of the club and suggests Anthony changes his name to Tony Francis. 7 years later, the club is incredibly popular and still run by Pluto. By the way, that debt to the mafia never comes back.
No.
I guess he paid it off.
I guess they just... Yeah, I don't know.
That was actually just a really good decision of his. That was a good deal. Both of them become wildly successful.
I guess it's just the story of how he got the bar.
Yeah. So you could kind of cut it and have the same movie. But anyway. And still run by Pluto, along with his robot bodyguard, Bruno. The daughter of an old friend of his, Dina, shows up and asks for a job, which Pluto reluctantly gives, though as a waitress, not as a singer like she wants. While sorting out the details, Pluto also rejects an offer from mob kingpin Rex Crater to buy the club for $10 million, which ends with Pluto and Dina narrowly avoiding the club exploding and Rex's goons trying to shoot and kill them. Pluto tracks down an old friend, Roland, a former detective and friend of his mother's, to get information.
And his mother's played by Pam Grier.
It's great. They find Rex has links to cloning, but are attacked while following this lead. They escape to Pluto's old smuggling hideout, but are tracked down once again. After a close escape leaves them stranded and without air, they are saved by a fan of Pluto's who takes them to Rex's casino. Upon sneaking in, but then getting caught, they are taken to Rex, who is revealed to be a clone of Pluto, formed as a front for mobster Zoroaster Marucci. However, Rex killed Marucci and took over the business, leaving Pluto alive out of, in his words, goodwill, until he desired to take his club and turn it into a casino, despite Little America not being a gambling district, unlike Moon Beach. Pluto and his clone fight, with Rex ending up thrown out the window. Pluto leaves with Dina and Bruno and return to the now renovated Club Pluto. That's the Adventures of Pluto Nash.
Yeah.
A very strange, in my opinion, very strange plot to have a The Adventures of prefix.
Yeah, it was one adventure.
It was an adventure.
Yeah.
And also, the adventures of Pluto Nash makes me think it's going to be like a fun family romp.
Yeah.
This guy's a nightclub owner.
Yeah.
Dealing with the mafia.
It was a lot more adult themed than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This movie's about a guy who owns a nightclub on the moon.
Yeah.
That's a pretty wild pitch.
Like, I like the idea of this colony called Little America, you know? I think that's kind of fun. There's a few inspired things. This is me grasping for anything positive I could say about this film. I just felt like I was watching it and I was like, surely this was could have been a better time than it is.
Yeah.
Like, how is it so flat?
You kind of feel like it's supposed to be a good time.
Yeah, but it just never is.
A lot of these movies, they don't have that same feeling. You're like, this is bad. I'm like, I feel like I'm supposed to be enjoying this, but I'm not.
You know what it is? For me, at least, it was that Eddie Murphy clearly wasn't having that much fun with it.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't experimenting or running around or doing different things, or even if it was just a muted performance, he wasn't having fun with the muted performance.
Yeah.
He just gave off, I'm just here for the paycheck.
Well, but that's really interesting because I actually found in some of the production history stuff that, what was it, Ron Underwood, talked about how originally they were trying to make a funnier script, and then Eddie Murphy was like, make it a straight script like you would give to Harrison Ford, who was one of the original. This movie was in development hell for like 10 years. It was originally going to be passed around in the 80s.
Oh, God.
And Harrison Ford is the lead.
Oh, God.
Like, give it the same script you'd give Harrison Ford or Bruce Willis, any of those guys. I'll make it funny.
But he didn't.
No. Ron Underwood also, in a different quote, said it seemed like Eddie Murphy was having a hard time.
Yeah.
Just his heart wasn't in being funny.
Exactly. That's how it felt.
Yeah.
And there's that bit where some of the only nice bits are when he's clearly improvising with the girl who plays Dina,
Rosario Dawson.
Because she's Cory Booker's. She dated Cory Booker, didn't she?
Until they broke up.
That's how I knew her.
Really?
That's the only reason I knew her, is that
Wow.
she was like dated Cory Booker for a while.
It's really funny that you're in for Rosario Dawson. Was that she dated the senator from New Jersey?
Yeah. I was like, oh my God, Cory Booker has like a hot actress girlfriend. Good for him.
She's in she's in Death Proof. She's in Sin City and stuff.
Yeah. I haven't seen that many things she's been in, I guess.
She's now starring in Ahsoka. Basically, I mean, they got so many of the voice actors from the original Clone Wars TV show to play their live action counterparts, but Rosario Dawson is definitely only Ahsoka because that was the fan cast like 10 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, in the same way that, you know how John Krasinski was in the Doctor Strange movie as like an alt Mr. Fantastic?
Yeah.
That's definitely because there was a fucking meme of someone doing a Photoshop of John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic. And they're like, this is like a nod to that. And, you know, he didn't feel great in that role. I like him, though, in general. But
what I was going to say really quickly before we went off on that tangent was that Rosario Dawson and Eddie Murphy, there were clearly bits where he was improvising and she was enjoying it. And there was just like a bit right before a cut where he made a joke about happy pills. He was like, I wish I had some of those in my head all the time. And she's like actually laughing, where I was like, that was the nicest bit of the whole film. Yeah. Because he was actually having a bit of fun with her.
Their chemistry is actually all right.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
in general.
She's a beautiful woman.
I get.
And he's Eddie Murphy.
She is.
He's like always erect from the piles of cocaine he's snorting.
She's a beautiful woman and he's just Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
You know?
Can he resist? Probably not.
I mean, I can see also what people would get out of Randy Quaid in this movie, who I think we've brought up on this podcast before. He's a nuts guy, and at no point am I going to entertain anything.
What's Randy Quaid been in again? Like, apart from
in the beginning of his career, in particular.
Is he related to Dennis Quaid?
It's one of those things where I'm like, surely, and then you sometimes find Dennis Quaid is his brother.
Okay.
And Jack Quaid is his nephew, of course, obviously. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he was originally in Last Picture Show, What's Up, Doc? Like, he's been around for a long time. Midnight Express, National Lampoon's Vacation.
Oh, as who?
Cousin Eddie Johnson.
Oh, okay, like the hillbilly cousin.
He's in 19 episodes of SNL.
Okay.
Oh, that's surprising.
I mean, we're Australians. We didn't grow up watching old SNL, did we?
Well, I grew up watching some. It was on really, really late on not Saturday. So I would watch it sometimes. But yeah, not the same.
Did you have Foxtel?
Yeah.
That's why you got to see it.
I know. I've said before, my mum made the wise decision of like, I do not have the resources to more comprehensively always supervise my children, but they seem to be very placated when they have a lot more channels.
Yeah.
And she was right. She was right.
Lucky you, man. had to make do with ABC, SBS 7, 9, and 10.
Well, it's how I know how to be a person. It's just mostly watching sitcoms and so many different stand-up specials.
It's just such an autistic thing, isn't it?
I know. It's why I am the way I am.
Yeah. Have you seen Employable Me?
No.
There's this.
No, were you talking about it?
I was, yeah. And there's this girl called Kathleen, and she's got this American accent. And someone asks her, no, it's Jess. Jess has this American accent. And she talks like this, that computer, do you want to come over here and get the computer? Like, that's how she talks.
Okay.
Genuinely. And her mother was like, her mother's Australian, her father's Australian. And she's like, my daughter has this accent because she just watches TV all the time. And that's where she learns how to associate with people and talk to people. And that's why she's got this strange accent. And then this other girl called Kathleen comes in with an American accent, and her dad says the same thing. He's just like, she just watches TV. That's where she gets it from.
Yeah, I often joke I'm the only white person in Australia who gets the, oh, where are you from?
Yeah.
It's just because of they can recognize, like, that doesn't sound 100%.
It's because you've watched The Office like 20 times.
Yeah, genuinely. But yeah, Randy Quaid was in heaps of stuff. He's just also nuts, and he clearly went off the deep end at a certain point, and then later started being so supportive of Trump that Trump started retweeting his stuff.
Whoa.
Yeah, so fuck Randy Quaid. But outside of that, I can see what someone would get out of his performance in this movie. He's doing a funny thing. I just don't think it is very funny.
The one thing that I thought was funny was him as the robot Bruno.
Yeah.
It is when there's that like female maid robot that always bends over to show her the underwear, and every time he sees it, his eyes go like wide, and it's this repeated joke that eventually I was like, it's becoming funny.
Yeah, which the conclusion of that is he's like, she's 22 volts, 220 volts, and I'm 110, and I'm also like in 2080, that's crazy. What the fuck are you talking about? And then that turned into like a weird, I feel like a condom joke. Because then Eddie Murphy was like, you should go to the store and get an adapter. And he was like, it just ruins it for me.
Yeah,
and I'm like, what the fuck are you
Again, this is a very adult thing. Again, it looks like it's a kid's film.
It does.
It's not a kid's film.
Yeah. He kind of sounds like he's doing Squidward.
Yeah, I see that.
Also, in a good indication of the stasis, I think, of American politics, there's a Hillary Clinton and a Donald Trump joke in this.
Wow.
In 2002.
Wow.
The joke being that Hillary Clinton was at one point president, and that Donald Trump is a sucky businessman.
Wow, that's really sad.
Yeah.
It makes me actually sad knowing the way that things turned out.
Yeah, it makes me really sad.
Hey, we're in the era where at least Trump is actually having to suffer consequences for his actions.
Not yet.
We're getting there.
Potentially.
Maybe.
Maybe. Hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
You know what I was thinking about the other day? You know what I think about sometimes? This is not to in any way forgive his crimes against humanity. But, like, you know how sometimes people, I guess, semi-mistakenly and stuff go, like, what would the world be like if Hitler was just allowed to do art? I mean, now, he kind of sucked at doing art, but the idea being, like, maybe if he was less angry about that, then he wouldn't have been such a fucking historical villain. I feel like the version of that for Trump is, like, if someone let him be a comedian. Because he is funny. He's just awful.
Yeah, I guess so. He's got some good timing.
All of the other, like, alt-right guys really want to be funny, and they're just not.
He does tell a good story.
Yeah.
He's like, so I worked in, and this is what he said. Do you want to know what he told me? He told me this.
And you're like doing gripping, Joan Rivers.
Hanging on to every last one. There's this one video of Trump that Claude and I fucking love, where it's just a snippet of him at a rally, and I don't know the context of it. It's just him going, I'm gonna do it. And that's the whole video.
So if instead everyone kept him away from politics, especially because
just give him the stool and a glass of water.
Yeah, exactly. If they just let him be an insult comedian who was also in his private life a monster, like the world is a happier place. I think he would be happier.
Yeah, he'd be able to get out a lot of his anger and hatred of women.
He's clearly miserable.
He'd be allowed to tell like sexist jokes as a comedian. Would forgive it more, you know?
Yeah, you'd just be like, oh, that guy sucks, instead of like, please.
Jim Jeffries does it all the time. Jim Jeffries made a career out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
He's not getting impeached for like abusing women.
Yeah, exactly. We just can go like, ugh, well, that guy, instead of being
Jim
like,
Jeffries,
this guy might incite violence against me.
My problem with Jim Jeffries isn't even that he's like sexist against women. It's that he's just not funny at the same time.
Yeah.
So my girlfriend, right? She's a real cunt.
That's the difference between Jim Jeffries and Bill Burr. Bill Burr's sexist, but he's funny enough that I'm like, yeah, you know what? You got a point.
Women are shit.
Women do be shopping.
Where were we?
This is a comedy podcast. Don't worry, guys. what was it? Oh, he's doing Evil Squidward. He makes me think of Evil Gadget, by the way, because his big teeth and stuff.
Yeah.
There's the body swapping, like they go and see the I guess the future version of a plastic surgeon who could just like fundament alter the body.
Yeah, and they're given like a screen, it's like a hologram kind of version of what they could look like.
Yeah.
And he gives her big boobs and a big butt.
Well, the whole scene is him making jokes about how he wishes she could have a bigger butt and bigger boobs. And I'm like, for one, this is Rosario Dawson. She's a beautiful woman.
She's fine.
But also, like, you're in the fucking edit room. Like, tighten up his fucking dialogue, man. It's so
it was
languid.
Such a slow scene. For something that was supposed to be funny, it was awful.
Surely, Eddie Murphy told at least one good joke,
like,
right?
One of the
and if he didn't, just cut it out.
And this is what we call Venice Beach. And it's just two people, like really jacked people.
Really jacked.
And you're kind of just waiting for a joke he could make, but he just goes, oh, well, hang on. I could get around this. Oh, whoa.
Also, they break the classic rule of three because they say, like, here's the we call this one Amazon, and they're very tall.
Then Venice Beach.
And then that's it.
That's it. Well, that's all we got.
Then it's done.
Didn't even squeeze out half a joke in that scene.
Nope.
It was awful.
Not at all.
It was awful.
It's just the whole thing is like that.
It's really flat as a film. That's what it is. For a film that's about a bar, like a guy that owns a bar on the moon, it's really flat.
A nightclub.
A nightclub on the moon. It's really, really flat.
I'm writing a script. Oh, so we're not doing the New Yorker voice so much anymore. No. So
do the Michael Caine. Do the Michael Caine.
Listen, I'm writing a script. He's got a nightclub on the bloody moon.
On the bloody moon.
On the bloody moon. That's early Caine when he was really animated, you know?
I saw this video of him talking about how he has a screen presence. And he's like, here's the thing, right? I've got two eyes, but I only use one of them. And I use this one because it tilts my head towards the camera. And what I do is I don't blink. Because if I blink, I seem vulnerable and weak. But once I stop blinking, you are engaged and you're listening to every word coming out of my mouth. And the interviewer's like, yeah, I am. It's really intense.
You know what? I actually saw an X the other day. I don't know, a tweet still the other day.
That is not what I thought you were saying.
Well, yeah, because if only there was a way of it being like easily identifiable no matter on what platform I was referring to.
Claude comes home and he's like, oh my God, I saw this X the other day. And I'll be like, you fucking what? Excuse me?
Yeah, it's just, it sucks that they don't have a really easily identifiable brand.
Yeah.
Oh well. But it was about the in Bruges when Ralph Fiennes and Brendan Gleeson are sitting down at the restaurant.
Take that back about my cunt fucking children.
Yeah. That scene. And it was like, this scene is a great example of the distinction between the don't blink school of actors and the who gives a shit school of actors. And watching it, it's like, yeah, Ralph Fiennes doesn't blink and he's so intense. And Brendan Gleeson just keeps blinking.
Exactly.
And it works perfectly for their characters.
There is something so cold and unnatural about someone that doesn't blink and has this fixed stare. But blinking is a vulnerability. It is a weakness in a sense. That's why we do it for our kittens to say, I love you.
Yeah. Because of that, I now just do that to people, expecting them to understand the cat sign language.
Yeah. The little blinks.
I do think the moon-based sequence, it's wild. That's when we see the French maid for the first time. His kind of implied sex robot.
Yeah.
But then after there's the fight sequence where like they show up and they shoot a fucking bazooka, which goes through the door and blows up the whole thing. And then they get the car chase. I actually thought the car chase was kind of good.
Yeah, I liked the car chase.
It was all right. It's not like a good movie. It would be better.
What did you think of the romantic scene in the car where that slow, soft music is playing and he's like, the moon's not all bad, and he opens the sunroof and then it's the stars in the night sky and then he's trying to pour her a drink and John Cleese as James
as the car
is like, you're trying to get her drunk and have your way with her. And then he doesn't say anything to that. He pours his champagne, he turns around and she's fallen asleep.
Yeah.
And he puts a coat over her.
Is that where they start playing, or is it the scene after? Maybe the worst cover of Dancing in the Moonlight I've ever heard.
It was not long after that.
Yeah.
But I know that, it was an awful cover.
Dancing in the Moonlight, it's such a shoe-in for this movie, and instead they did like a house remix version of it.
It's an awful remix.
It really was bad.
It's such a great film. I mean, song, not film.
I do think, one gag I think worked.
What?
is, I mean, because Luis Guzman shows up. He's an immediate shot of energy. I think he's the best part of this movie.
Yeah, because he actually was having fun.
He was having fun with it. But after that, they see Tony Francis, the guy, being like, hey, Pluto was right. He changed his name. He did Italian-style crooning instead of his original thing was Scottish crooning. He had to change his name from Anthony Frankowski, which is a Polish name. Don't know why. Anyway.
Oh, because the Poles are horrible.
Well, yeah, but it was like he had changed his name to believably do Italian, but like he didn't have a Scottish name.
No.
So anyway,
I don't understand.
It doesn't matter. This is not a book.
Then he's Tony Francis.
He's very successful. He meets up with him and he's like, I need a way to get in the elevator. When Tony Francis is like explaining the plan of like, just jump over to there. And then he's like, you just got to swing on one of the wires.
You got to back up and then you run at it. You hit that ledge and you grab onto those wires. That was good.
Yeah, and then Eddie Murphy's like, what is the hot wire? Look at that fucking wire, man. And you see a close up and it's like buzzing with electricity. He's like, well, not that wire. Any of the other like
that bit was good.
That was funny.
It's because Eddie Murphy had someone to work with that was giving a shit.
Both of them were kind of in it.
Yeah.
It was a good scene.
It was a good scene. There was a couple of scenes where, again, you're like, I can see how this could have gone right in a different world. But unfortunately, a lot of it is Eddie Murphy not trying.
Yeah.
And the film is flat.
And it feels like the script isn't sharp enough.
Yeah.
Either with its jokes or emotion.
It's as flat as the earth. And the moon.
Just like wait.
The moon's a big disc up there.
Now that's
Have
notable.
you ever seen the back of the moon? No. It's a big disc.
That's notable because in flat earth theory, I'm pretty sure the moon is still a sphere.
Oh, well, I've taken it one step beyond.
You said that the moon is also flat.
Yes, everything's flat. Well, how come the moon is spherical but we can't be?
Oh, it drags itself on the outside of the dome.
What?
Well, how do we not just float away? There's a dome over the flat earth.
Well, not in my theory. In the Abigail theory, everything is discs.
It's just a disc? It's like Discworld.
We're big CDs. Yeah, we're big CDs flying around the universe.
Aren't we all just discs flying through this crazy blue disc called Earth?
We're all in a big CD folder, just getting slotted into our plastic sleeves. One disc at a time.
If we were a disc, I wish we were at least the mini disc.
Yeah, what about a floppy disk?
No.
Yeah, okay.
The floppy disk is fine, but it's still, the mini disc is
really
where it's at.
Like that.
Society crumbled the moment we decided to let the mini disc go.
I do remember the mini disc, and it was so novel and fun for all of the year it existed.
Especially because, it existed for ages in Europe and Japan. Didn't do very well in Anglo countries.
Okay.
But it is great. And instead, we gave it up for CDs because they were cheaper. And you know what? Like now, we're always like, we had decades of like, I scratched my DVD. What if it was in a little diskette, like a mini disc?
Yeah.
Imagine.
And you could walk around with a mini Walkman, putting your little mini discs in.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be vintage and cute.
They take the CD slots away from things because it's too big. It wasn't too. We still have SD cards.
That's right.
The mini disc could have been the SD card. Way cooler.
Make a lot of great points, and you've clearly thought this out, and I fully agree with you.
What I wish is that it was easier. To in some way make a mini disc, because they don't make them anymore. And the biggest data storage you can get is only 1 gig, which now is nothing. What if
you created a stronger, more powerful mini disc?
That's what I wish. What I wish is that I could somehow incite the creation of a stronger, newer, more powerful.
You've just got to recruit some tech disc. Marvels. You'll be at the head of the project,
and manufacturers,
you'll have your little geeks around you.
Yeah, because this is not something I can solve through just software programming. I got to know how to make a magneto-optical disc.
Yeah, just Reddit it. Yeah,
yeah, that'll probably help.
YouTube it. Yeah.
YouTube it. Yeah. I wonder if there's a Discord about it. Yeah. I mean, there probably is a Discord about mini discs for sure.
Mini Discord.
Nice.
Thanks.
Hey, you know what else was crazy? Was the whole fucking end sequence, because the reveal of Eddie Murphy, he's sitting in a chair, we don't see him, and then the whole floor rotates. Not his chair, the whole floor rotates to reveal that it is a clone of him.
And the camera starts, zollying in almost.
It does, yeah.
And the reveal is really fun.
It is fun.
And then they do the classic, shoot him, I'm the real Pluto.
Yeah.
Which is a classic.
It is a classic.
And he tricks them by shooting Bruno. Yeah. Makes him look evil.
He shoots his friend, and then we watch, and it's kind of an intense death because he really is going, no. And then he really gets shot and then is just lying there. And you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's pretty graphic.
That guy gets killed.
Yeah.
That guy really
Pluto's
gets
not
killed.
very nice.
No, he's not. Well, I mean, because we see how with literally only the opportunity in front of him, he would become quite a vicious crime boss.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You know? Because he was cloned. He even says he had all of his memories. Now, one of the things he was cloned 8 years ago when he was in jail from his, he got his appendix out and they used that DNA because Alec Baldwin thought, I need someone who already knows the moon business. This guy will know the moon business.
I know this great guy. He's in the moon business.
He's in the moon business, you know. Because Maracucci or whatever his name is earthbound. He needs a moon guy. We all need a moon guy.
We all need a guy up on there, up in that moon.
So he clones him. This literally a year later is when he buys the club and everything, which also means I don't know why he knows anything about Tony Francis, other than he's successful.
I don't know either. Yeah.
And then, in that 8 years...
Do you want me to, take accountability?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Abby, answer for your crimes. Why did you make this movie?
Oh, man.
Abigail, New York Times.
Coke did it. Me and Eddie. And Coke.
We're calling this New Coke.
New Coke.
And that was actually the story behind New Coke. Now, did that come out decades before this movie? Sure. We're not living in that world. We're living on the moon.
Oh, little America on the moon.
I was going to pivot out, but then I reread my notes of two different things. One is in there, finds it because the whole thing, he gets shot and then he gets back up. It turns out he was wearing a bulletproof vest, is what it's called, as was Bruno. And then he goes to fully garrote him. And we see the shot and Rosario Dawson is like hands on mouth, like, oh, just standing there. It's like, you can just hit him. No one's stopping you. Just get him off of him.
She's a damsel in distress.
Even Bruno
can't do
barely
anything.
does anything.
I know.
It's craziness.
Yeah.
And then, we see the current president, Rosario Dawson, is a singer. Luis Guzman gets free food at the club. Bruno is going to be the manager, even though he's an outdated robot who barely works, And then Pluto sits down, cigar in hand, and then he sort of becomes the moon, and then it just ends.
Yeah, and what I thought was weird is that you didn't get the classic, he and her kiss at the end.
Nope.
We don't see any of that. No. It's just kind of implied that maybe she's fucking him because he got her a job as a singer at the club. Who knows?
That's a very accurate, if not also incredibly ungenerous way to put it.
Yeah.
But you're right.
I'm probably right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The owner and the singer, they're fucking.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He got her a job here.
Yeah. After they had one wacky adventure together.
Yeah. This is not the adventures of Pluto Nash. This is the adventure.
It's the one adventure.
Nash, the one single adventure. I feel like this would work well as a comic strip.
Maybe.
I
wrote a comic strip in high school.
Really?
It was an assessment in English.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's just one
his
comic.
His name was Captain Thunderpants.
There's just one comic?
It was like a long comic strip. We had to do 3 different stories.
Oh, well, then it is a strip.
Yeah.
I was like, if it's one comic, that's just a single issue.
Yeah.
It
was like 3 different stories.
Yeah.
And Captain Thunderpants could zoom around from the air that he would release out of his pants.
Actually, you know what? I take it back. It's not that this would work as a comic strip. Where this would work is, how some comics, there's
You don't care about Captain Thunderpants?
I guess I already know about Captain Thunderpants now that I think about it. You've told me a lot of the stories of your life.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but where this would work, some comics, they'll have a little, a separate comic inside of it. It'll be like an adventure of a side character thing. Sometimes Captain America would just have a completely different thing at the end of it for the last 8 pages or whatever.
Yeah.
That's the Adventures of Pluto Nash. I think that's where
this
works.
What would it be spinning off of? What's the original comic?
No, it's not a spin-off. It's just a different property.
Okay.
They would do that. That's what I'm saying. It's not a spin-off. It's not a different character in the same world. It's just a different thing. But they're using it almost like a promotion, It's just a small little comic.
I see it.
You see that?
Yeah.
Do you want to see some trivia?
Yeah.
IMDb trivia.
Here's the trivia. Eddie Murphy poked fun at himself in an interview with Barbara Walters saying, I know the 2 or 3 people that like this movie. It's pretty fun.
It's pretty good. If only he was that funny in the film.
If only. Genuinely. The work print version of the film ran nearly 3 hours. Yeah.
With what storyline?
I know. I so desperately want to see the work print version of this
what could they possibly have extended it
What is
out
the plot
to
of it?
have? Okay.
And Oscar-winning editor Alan Heim was brought in to try and fix the film. After viewing the available footage, he determined that a large portion of the film needed to be reshot and whole new scenes added, including an opening and closing sequence and introductory sequences for both Pluto and Dina. Eddie Murphy ultimately financed many of the reshoots while the film languished in post-production, writing and directing many of the new scenes himself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
This film also, by the way, was like in post for 4 years.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
So it was just production hell after production hell.
Yeah. I love the power that this editor came in and was like, it was sort of 3-hour version and was like, the way this is going to work is not that I cut this into a movie, it's that you're going to reshoot most of it.
Yeah.
That's insane, and I love that.
You should try it one time.
I mean...
You know what? Scrap it.
I kind of have. I mean, I have asked for pickup shots and stuff. I remember on one thing that I cut, I asked, not actually for reshoots, I was the one saying, instead of doing reshoots, I think we should cut this scene. And the director instead reshot that scene twice.
Oh, wow.
Before agreeing with me that instead we should just cut it and 4 other scenes.
What a waste.
The movie is way better for it, though.
Yeah.
Way better for it. This is a little one that I liked. Alec Baldwin disliked the film so much that he insisted on being uncredited.
Oh.
This is technically an uncredited appearance from Alec Baldwin.
Fair enough. Why would you want this tainted on your...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Principal photography was hampered by constant bickering among Eddie Murphy, director Ron Underwood, and the producers, with Murphy often overruling Underwood and making on-the-fly rewrites, causing the film to go over schedule and over budget.
It just sounds impossible.
Yeah. And you know what? What makes me sad about that is that Underwood, in several quotes, kept saying that he actually did like working with Eddie Murphy.
Really?
And kept trying to, like, defend Murphy.
Because I've never heard a good story about him, I'm not going to lie.
I think... Ron Underwood just wanted to be reasonable. There was even like a different... There's a different thing I'll get into in the reviews. Do you want to hear them?
Yes.
Reviews!
This movie has 5% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Mm-hmm. That's really low.
That's really low. It's only 1% higher than In the Name of the King.
Yeah.
And 3.8 on IMDb. Instead of a reviewer quote, I actually got this quote from Joe Pantoliano, which is the thing I was referring to just before. He said, "You usually can't tell when a movie is going to be shit, but on that one you could." And I think Ron Underwood, the director, got victimized by that because that guy is good.
Oh.
But because of the material and the style in which some players came to work, we were off the mark, you know? A lot of hanky-panky going on there. So I wasn't surprised. I was surprised it turned out to be better than I thought it was going to be.
Oh, it's like Super Mario Brothers, how everyone on set at the time were like, this is going to be shit.
Yeah.
No one had a good feeling about it.
But instead of like, unlike Super Mario Bros., it sounds like Ron Underwood was doing his best.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely. That's really sad.
I've seen other of his movies. He's not a bad director.
Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah.
Here's some IMDb reviews. Here's one titled, "It Was Great" by Anthony Nat. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed Pluto Nash. Eddie Murphy was great. It had Randy Quaid and even Jay Moore. It was funny and action-packed, and the effects/sci-fi were terrific. The jokes were not juvenile.
Whoa.
They were wry and sometimes silly, but I don't remember any Uranus joke or other lame jokes. Even if there were, they were less than a handful.
What about the ones where he was asking her to increase her booty for
Even
him?
if there were, they were less than a handful.
Sorry.
Compared to the entire film, which both entertained and had realistic moon/sci-fi action.
Moon action.
You know, classic moon action.
Yeah.
The director and special effects people did their homework. There were some weak points in the plot, such as some of Pluto's motives, but I understood the entire story.
Did you?
That's so funny to put in a 10 out of 10 reviews. I understood the entire story. It's almost Beverly Hills Cop combined with Total Recall and direct reference to both a Star Trek episode and Star Trek movie regarding identical people, but set on the moon.
Jeans that there was a direct reference to it.
Yeah, well, it's not a reference to it. There's just also a clone thing. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
I understood the movie. The director did their homework.
It's just one time Michelle was really touched that I got her a glass of water and said, "Oh, wow, you think of me." And I told her to raise her standards. And I echo the same sentiment to the people that leave these reviews.
For context, I'd said it so genuinely, too.
Yeah, really.
I was genuinely
you were touched
really
that I got you a glass of water.
Without me even asking.
You're a human being. We all get thirsty from time to time.
Yeah, but you thought about it.
It's not like I made you a special caramel latte that you have to your exact specifications. I got you a glass of water.
Yeah.
Raise your standards.
I'm trying. I just, you know what? No, I'm just very appreciative of the things my friends do for me.
Aww.
Here's another review titled "Why I Hate Movie Critics" by Sis Jessica Wilde.
Okay.
Very weird name to pick.
Is it like cis, like SIS?
No.
Or CIS?
No spaces. CISJESSSICAWILDE.
Okay.
I only can figure out that must be broken down as Sis Jessica Wilde.
All right.
Technically, Sis Jessica Wilde. This movie, like Battlefield Earth and Speed Racer, are just unfortunate victims of groupthink stupidity. One idiot says it's bad on their sad little blog, and every other critic wannabe just hops on board and slams it for no reason. I miss seeing this in theaters because I only heard how bad it was. I saw it years later on TV and loved it. It is fresh and original and funny. I completely loathe critics now, especially these days when the brain-dead lemmings will rant and rave about the stupidest crap, like some dumbass muscleheads strapping rockets to a car and going into space.
What is that a reference to?
Or a bunch of lame CGI superheroes jumping around in slow motion. It's why movies these days just suck. 10 out of 10.
What is he referencing?
I don't know.
What are the superheroes jumping around in slow motion? What year was that review left? Can you see it?
Let me double check.
I just want to know.
2021.
God, it could be anything.
It could be anything.
Yeah.
What I love is like the unfortunate victims of like bad critic reviews. When there's like Speed Race, I'm like, oh, and then he's like, and Battlefield Earth. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
This is bizarre.
That is a bad movie. Here's my last IMDb review titled, "What is wrong?" Titled, "What is wrong?" is multiple question marks by, and this is all caps, Fazdeck.
Okay.
Watched this through tonight on UK's ITV1 and thoroughly enjoyed it. Box office flop. Cost 100 million to make, took 4.4 million over what period of time? That was the domestic gross. The introduction makes you wonder, but once it gets going, it's a romp. Yes, many ideas stolen from other sci-fi picks, but then what film doesn't copy some things? Total Recall / Blade Runner come to mind? What new ideas are there anyway? The money must have gone on effects, and I thought they stood up very well. Yes, it's a family film.
No, it's not.
Don't remember any bad language in it, but this was a TV cut. Some great ideas in this. No mention of John Cleese in the write-up, but it's a cameo. By the end, I realized I have seen it before, so I've forgotten it. Enjoyed it all over again. Flop. Well, many people seem to expect blood and gore now. Shame. Is it the age group? Not funny? Humor chip missing, is it? Maybe it's too subtle. It's a very sad state when people couldn't enjoy such a well-made film. As another comment said, accept it for what it is. Don't expect so many good bits in it. Some set pieces. Yes, Fifth Element as well to a degree. I like Eddie Murphy as an actor. I love sci-fi. What's wrong? 10 out of 10.
Someone needs to take the question mark key away from this person. That was insane.
No, it just became increasingly harder to read.
Shame.
Also, their like go-to evidence for sci-fi movies ripping off other things were Blade Runner and Total Recall.
Yeah.
There's not, to you, some of the most original sci-fi.
Blade Runner was also one of the OG sci-fis
movies.
As well.
Yeah. Like that's an insane pull.
What the fuck?
Whatever. That was Fazdeck's review. What was your review, Abigail?
Oh, God. It was actually... Look, I actually enjoyed our last one, In the Name of the King, more than I enjoyed this one.
I was going to say the same thing.
And, like, I didn't expect that because the last one was 2 hours and 40 minutes long, and this was an hour and, 30.
This felt longer.
It felt longer. And it's because it was just... No one was attempting to have fun with it, and I think at least there was an effort put into In the Name of the King.
Yeah.
And so with this one, it was just so flat. I didn't have a good time with it, nor did Eddie Murphy, and I found it really hard to get through despite its very short runtime.
Yeah.
I expected a lot more pleasantry out of this film, like just a bit more humor and fun, and it didn't deliver. Oh God, but it was 90 minutes, even though it didn't feel like that. That's the most important thing to me.
You can't overly. If it's
Michelle,
a bad 40 minutes,
it's what gets me through. Okay. I'll look. IMDb gave it 3.8, which is pretty fucking spot on. Maybe a 3.7. 3. No, that feels wrong. 3.5.
3.5.
Yeah. What about you?
This movie's greatest crime is that it's boring, which I think is the greatest crime a movie can do.
Yeah.
Rather than being a big swing and a miss.
It's boring with such a fun premise as well, just to add further like insult to injury.
I think I would have given it just a 3, but there are those funny bits. So I think I'm also going to give it a 3.5.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you kind of nailed it.
Give me some skin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's my skin.
Grating it off.
My skin. Hey,
It makes me stronger.
Oh my god! Speaking of skin in the game, though, if you want to get your skin in this game, you can follow us on social media.
That was pretty good.
You can find us on X at Rating Descend at Rate Descend Pod. You can find us on TikTok at Rating Descending, or you could email us at ratingdescending@gmail.com.
Or you can find us on our personal accounts. You can find me on Instagram under Abigail J. Ward. That was so aggressive. It was insane.
You can find me.
I wish people got to see your face while you did it.
You can find me on X and Instagram at Michelle.St.
And please don't forget to drop us a review wherever you get your podcast. Even if you could write something sweet like, these women are so hot and sexy and everything they say
because
I
obviously
agree
you
with.
can see us when you're
Yeah, well, you can imagine us.
These women sound so hot and sexy.
We're in a bubble bath right now.
All I'm doing when I'm recording is I'm just like bubbling my huge bubbies around
in the water.
And I'm like, oh, they're so soapy. And then I'm fucking nutting.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Leave a review and buy our bathwater.
Buy our bathwater. Jart into it. Sorry. I'm not making it to the end of this episode. I don't think I am.
No.
All right.
Just tap it out.
Okay. All right. Abby?
Yeah.
That was The Adventures of Pluto Nash.
Yeah.
What are we watching next week?
Next week, Michelle, we are watching The Avengers, and it's not the well-known one that everyone thinks it is.
No, it's
the
like
1992 Avengers.
Yeah, it's Uma Thurman, Ray Fiennes. I don't know what the premise is, but I looked it up and I was like, is this a early? No, it's not.
Confusing.
But
we'll find out.
Oh, no, it's not confusing. It's a mystery, and the game is afoot.
What's in the mystery box?
Ooh. Oh, listen here. There's a mystery about, and we're gonna solve it. Please, Spirit.
Please, Spirit.